Very good morning and a warm welcome to all the dignitaries, all the luminaries present here. This gathering is enriched by a vast number of experts across the disciplines, from all the disciplines related with green growth and disaster risk management. More than 30 institutions, their heads and directors are going to participate in this organization, in this 2 days event, and around 150 delegates across all the thematic sessions during 2 days would be participating in this program. So this is our great pleasure to welcome you all in this forum. The CAPRES 22, which is Climate Adaptive Planning for Resilience and Sustainability. This is a network program focusing on science policy practice interface, supported by Department of Science and Technology. But it is the beauty of the program that it is open-ended, and a number of international and national agencies have joined hands under this network program across the thematic areas covered under the project, broadly focused on environment, disaster, development nexus. The program would also be supporting a global book series on green growth and disaster resilience to be launched with Springer Nature. As we have been partnering with several agencies including GIZ, we had a major project from 2010 to 2014. Now we are going to start new initiatives under that collaboration. Beside this, we are also working closely with the Ministry of Environment and Forests and other agencies involved with the implementation of National Action Plan on Climate Change, for implementing National Action Plan on Climate Change with a special reference to disaster resilience and capacity building. So all your inputs, all your suggestions, all your directions would go a long way in developing us in a roadmap, and also in developing a network of institutions and also the network of experts to help us, to guide us in the process of developing case studies, undertaking the job of developing a specific compendium of knowledge and such case studies, and also taking the lessons to the ground level in implementing even up to district or sub-district level. So this project is little bit, I would say that has a high ambition, and I hope that it will be, we will be able to implement and achieve our objectives with support of you all. So I welcome you all in this forum. I welcome all the dignitaries on the dais. I welcome all the dignitaries and experts of the dais and who are going to join in the respective sessions also. Thank you very much, and I welcome you all.
Thank you, sir, for setting the tone for this 2-day event. Om Sobam Karoti Kalyanam Arogyam Dhana Sampada Shatru Buddhi Vinashaya Deepa Jyotir Namostute. Means, I fold my hands before the light that brings prosperity, auspiciousness, good health, abundance of wealth, and destruction of enemies' intellect. Light symbolizes the power of knowledge to destroy darkness. With this chant, may I request dignitaries on the dais to please give a formal start to the symposium by lighting of lamp. May I request my co-MC to lead this ceremony, please. With this power of light, the stage is all set to begin the program. Not taking much of your time, may I request Major General Manoj Kumar Bindal, Executive Director, National Institute of Disaster Management, for his welcome speech. Sir, please.
Jai Hind. First of all, heartiest welcome to all the dignitaries on the dais and all the participants who are sitting here. It is indeed a pleasure to host this august gathering of learned experts and various authorities of various dimensions from all over the country who are dealing with climate resilience and green growth. I find here more than 100 institutions being represented from all across the country. Our international partners have added strength to this symposium. The Climate Adaptive Planning for Resilience and Sustainable Development, in short CAP-RES, as is the logo of this particular center. It is supported by the Department of Science and Technology, Government of India. The CAP-RES would focus on human capacity building programs under National Knowledge Mission on Climate Change. The two-day international symposium is being organized by NIDM jointly with GIZ Germany, WHO, GGGI Korea, and Springer's Nature. Worldwide change or global warming works as a catalyst for the frequency and the intensity of the natural disasters. We have to be cautious that even a small hike in the rate of this climate change could be dangerous and could destroy an entire ecological cycle in some area or more than a few regional areas. The more we start developing the countries, the more increase is there in greenhouse effect and carbon budget, which in itself increases the Earth's temperature, the heat budget, and that again leads to higher intensity and frequency of disasters like floods, droughts, etc. So this whole thing works as a feedback mechanism in a very short loop. Sustainable development, it can be achieved through the ways of green growth, wherein the economical investment would be made to optimize the use of natural resources so that it does not lead to its exhaustion. Economic efficiency and environmental protection are two main pillars of green growth to ensure disaster risk reduction and disaster resilience. Building disaster resilient agriculture is another important aspect which I am not dwelling upon as it will be discussed in detail in the next session. Another important issue is climate proofing of disaster development. It is a newly designed way of integrating the impacts of climate change, creating awareness among the people dealing with climate change and its impacts, so that the planning process takes an informed risk decision of impact of climate change whenever anything is being developed. To materialize all these ideas, we need to have policies for disaster risk reduction. The CAPRIS project, it focuses on 5 main thematic areas, they being green growth, strategies and disaster risk reduction, disaster resilient agricultural systems, environmental health system and disaster resilience, climate proofing, disaster relief and recovery activities, environmental policy instruments and disaster risk reduction. This symposium, it aims at discussing on conceptual aspects, research and case studies, related policy issues, and suggest thematic network of institutions and experts across the themes of the CAPRIS to take up the designated activities. I am sure that this 2-day symposium will throw up a lot of issues which need to be taken care of and which needs to be discussed in detail as thematic areas. I am thankful once again to all of you who have spared your time and come from all across, including many from across other cities and other countries, to take part in this particular workshop and bolstering the need to care more for green growth and sustainable development. With this, I sign off and I'll hand over to the MC for further process. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for your speech. You rightly highlighted the need of human capacity development in the field of disaster management and incorporating the need of green growth and sustainable development. No doubt, under your able guidance, NIDM will definitely emerge as Center for Excellence on Disaster Management. May I now request Dr. Akhilesh Gupta, Advisor and Head, SPLICE and Climate Change Program, DST, Government of India, and former Secretary, UGC, to address this August gathering. Sir, please.
Respected Professor D.P. Singh, Chairman, University Grant Commission, Professor E.K. Sharma, the Vice Chairman of the Sikkim Disaster Management Authority, Shri Muhammad Al-Khawat, the Program Director of DIZ Germany, Dr. Henrik, Major General Manoj Kumar Bindal, Dr. Anil Gupta, distinguished guest in the audience, Professor Sudhir Jain, the Director of IIT Gandhinagar, Professor S.K. Singh, former Vice Chancellor of GGGI University, Professor Mahesh Verma, my friend, he's from the Vice Chancellor, IP University, Dr. A.K. Singh, Dr. A.K. Bhandari, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to all of you. I also joined NIDM in welcoming all of you and to this very important symposium on disaster resilience and sustainable development. Let me first compliment NIDM for having launched this Center of Excellence supported by DST in disaster management. This is the first Center of Excellence or DST in disaster management in the country, although we have a dozen such centers in the country. In fact, we have 7 human capacity building programs similar to what NIDM has launched, and we target annually something like 2,000 plus trainees in disaster and climate-related issues. Well, climate change and disasters are well connected. The IPCC report of 2014 clearly brings out the 3 key unambiguous messages. First, that the temperatures are rising across the world, and so is in India and other developing countries, and they will continue to rise. The sea level rise is taking place again across the world. And you see today, in fact, IPCC report, which has, in fact, Times of India has brought out a very good report on the recent report on IPCC on sea level rise, especially that influence. That, among the 45 cities in the world, the 4 Indian cities also figure in that list. That is Calcutta, Chennai, Mumbai and Surat. And it's projected that, by end of this century, these coastal cities will have a rise of 45 to 60 centimeter, which is substantial. And therefore, they are under threat from the sea level rise. The third important message from IPCC report is that almost all extreme events, hydrometeorological disasters are going to rise, and they have risen in past about 60 years. Now, this is a very important influence on the Indian context, because we have a very different demography, different socio-economic structure, and the most important is the population density. And therefore, the impact of these disasters are going to be enormous in India. And we have 2 very sensitive zones, coastal zones and Himalaya. And therefore, they are going to have very important impact. There is one angle and one issue that remain not focused by climate scientists and climate managers, is the impact that climate change is going to have on cities. The urban climate has a very different dimension than the global impact of climate. The local level impact at a city level is going to be very different. In fact, there is a study that has been done under our support from the DST saying that the number of extreme events in the major cities are increasing. So there is an urbanization effect. And now, since urbanization is taking place very fast in the country, we are going to have the extreme events, more frequent extreme events in the cities. Also important is that the magnitude of the heating, the change in the global impact is in fact in the city this is going to be much more, because city will have heat islands. In fact, there is a study done for Delhi also. There are heat islands in the city, which are of very high magnitude, 2 or 3 degrees centigrade, and therefore they are going to be very. One important inference that came out from recent studies supported by DST is that the floods in India are on rise, and especially city level floods. The short-term flood, or what you call flash flood, are on rise, and not just in cities but also in other areas, and in Himalaya also. And that is also a huge impact on the socio-economic impact is going to be there. Heat wave is across the country. We are seeing that heat waves are on rise. The large flood also, there is a study done by our study groups in different places saying that large floods are also going to increase in future, and especially in the central India and in the western India, these are going to be one issue that was studied by our scientists under the DST program was a part of the National Network Program on Climate Change and Human Health. And human health is going to be enormously impacted by it. So far, the relation between the human health and climate were not very direct. But now we are getting evidences that there is a direct impact coming. Not for one reason. The heat is definitely a good reason, but then we have issues like air pollution, the issues like water and vector-borne diseases because of humidity and temperatures. In fact, very recently we have a very interesting study. Generally believe that the air pollution impact mostly the respiratory system. But recently we have done a study where we say that even rheumatoid arthritis is being caused by the air pollution, which is a new kind of finding. I think I would not take much of time to see there are huge challenges that the climate change is going to inflict on the disasters management system as a whole, and there are the challenges for the weather forecaster to predict, and also disaster managers to manage. And these two are going to be the biggest challenges for the future. I think, in my opinion, we need to focus on certain issues. For example, we need to focus on training extensively, capacity building in disaster management. That should be the key area. But I think one area which has not been attempted and we should focus in disaster management is the research and development. There is a need to set up an institutional mechanism in R&D of disaster management. It's a very important area. We are having different issues, and I personally feel and DST would look forward to having this kind of thing, this kind of institutional mechanism set up by Another thing which is very important, I must mention, being a weather forecaster, that country has early warning system in many of these disaster areas. But now we need a kind of early warning system in a very holistic way, in a holistic manner. We must have a multi-hazard warning system in the country. I had myself developed a kind of a kind of model for this. I think this is doable. With seeing the impact that's going to come in time to come in different area, I think these are the things. So these are something that I wanted to share. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for highlighting the findings of IPCC report, where connection on climate change and disasters are very well recognized. All extreme events are going to rise, and this brings an emergency to work on this burning issue. Now, moving ahead in this session, it is time for release of knowledge products on the related theme. May I request my co-MCs to please prepare the stage for the release material. The first in the series is report of the special event on drought management organized during Conference of Party 14 by UNCCD, hosted by India in this September 2nd.
एक साथ लाइए सर.
Next in the series is policy paper on green growth benefits for climate and disaster resilience by Global Green Growth Initiative. Next in the series is training module for urban local bodies, including context of climate risk and children's resilience by UNICEF and GGGI.
Quickly.
This is the दूसरा वाला.
Quickly. Slow.
Now moving ahead, next is in the series is Climate Risk Management Framework for India, a GIZ publication. Next is launch of book series on disaster resilience and green growth, a joint initiative of Springer and NIDM.
Akansha, you can introduce.
Thank you, sir, for this release of bundle of publications and knowledge product on climate change and disaster resilience. Now, moving further in this session, may I request Sri Mohammad Al Khawar, Program Director, NRM GIZ India Office, for his address to the gathering. Sir, please.
Good morning, fellow dignitaries. Professor Singh from UGC, Professor Vinod Sharma from the Sikkim State Disaster Management Authority, Dr. Gupta from Department of Science and Technology, Dr. Bekadam, WHO, India, Major General Bindal, thank you for the invitation, and of course, Dr. Anil Gupta. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning to you. On behalf of GIZ, it's a great pleasure to be here, first time at this symposium. We are building on a long Indo-German partnership, I would say. GIZ has been working both with the national government as well as the state governments to find solutions to address India's climate risk concerns that impede development. And I think that's the issue a bit here. Climate risk impedes development, and if we don't take that up, there will be no development. So we really have to move forward on this. There are observations already that, of course, changing climatic conditions are increasing intensity of disasters and, of course, causing widespread negative impact on infrastructure, livelihoods, ecosystems. It's not surprising, of course, that the Climate Risk Index, which was published in Poland, in Katowice, last December, some of you might have been there, on the side events maybe, that on that climate risk index, India ranks as 14th most impacted country negatively impacted to climate change. And India is not an island, one of these situations. India is a huge continent, but it's still the 14th. And the impacts are, of course, negatively on agriculture, water, infrastructure, health, forestry. So these are things which touch us all, which is around us, where we can see the difference, where we can see if something happens, we see the change. So there is international recognition, and increasing recognition that these approaches, adaptation on the one side, mitigation on the other side, to climate change that's not enough. And that in the negotiations themselves, it is stressed that there is a need to develop and implement a climate risk assessment and their approaches. And that we have to work on in India. Vulnerability and disaster risks are required, and for this we need a climate risk management framework. I'm happy to note that we at GIZ are in partnership with the National Institute for Disaster Management and the International Institute for Applied System Analysis have been developing a generic climate risk management framework, and it is expected to give guidance and access on climate risk and develop appropriate measures to address vulnerabilities. I'd like to congratulate NIDM and, of course, DST, Department of Science and Technology, for launching CAPRES project, which aims to address the knowledge gap for climate change induced risks and vulnerability. So capacity building, that's in our heart of GIZ. in terms of improving knowledge base of key professionals and stakeholders. That, of course, has to include government officials, government policy planners, to achieve and to take up these issues. That's the one side, capacity building. And the other side, of course, is mainstreaming. That's what we have to work on. How do we get that into the system? How do we get that into the system of other sectoral approaches? And that is a challenge, but I think we all have experiences, because, I mean, poverty was an issue like that, and we managed to get the energy guys to think on poverty. So I think we can move ahead on this. And mainstreaming climate risk management, and thus building a series of lessons learned that can help to overcome, typical constraints and barriers. And where's the entry point for that? That's the question. So there is an intrinsic relationship between climate change vulnerability and disaster risk, and I think, and we think, my colleagues who work on this at GIZ think that, of course, the state action plans on climate change, the Indian state action plans on climate change, which are, I think, under revision at present, as well as the disaster management plan provide such a mainstreaming opportunity. And that's why I think we're doing this, because it has this potential of mainstreaming. So we would see CAPRES and this symposium as a platform for sharing knowledge and experience and best practice. Right. So at GIZ we work for the government of Germany, for different ministries, Ministry of Economic Cooperation and Development, our German Ministry of Environment, that partially leads the government negotiations on environment. And we've been working on the national level in India, on the subnational level. We've been working on the sub-CC's development and implementation. We've been creating enabling conditions to access climate finance. Also international, developing a proposal how to access climate finance. That's, of course, always the thing. You develop big programs and you start them, and then the means of access are not clear. So the development of the climate risk management framework has been part of this process, and we've been working on it in Himachal and Tamil Nadu with a consortium of researchers, which is the IIASA, the University of Geneva, the IIT Delhi, IIT Tirupati, and the Madras School of Economics. So we want to work in partnership, and you'll be hearing on this, I think, during the day. So might be aware that we have a long-standing partnership with NIDM, and in this context we would like to continue between the two organizations working on the issues which also in the flyer for this conference are listed. I'm sure this collaboration and this symposium will help to do the link between research and practice, between research and implementation, and have this policy connect. I think that's really about it. We have to get this connect there. If we don't get it there, then we stay in our spheres. And in that sense, I'd like to congratulate NIDM and DST for the launch of the Climate Adaptive Planning for Resilient and Sustainable Development Project, CAPRES, and wish you all this great success. And I hope that out of this meeting and conferences, new ideas develop, and we can take this forward. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for highlighting the work of GIZ in India in the field of disaster risk reduction, ecosystem management, and climate change. May I now request Dr. Henrik Jan Beckedam, WHO representative to India, for his speech. Sir, please.
Professor D.P. Singh, the Chairman of the University of the Grand Commission, Professor Vicky Sharma, the Vice Chairman of the Sikkim Disaster Management Authority, Mohammed Al-Kamat from GIZ, Akishlish Gupta, the Advisor and the Head of SPLIS and the Climate Change Program, Major General Manoj Kumar Bindal, Anil Gupta, distinguished guest experts, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's a real pleasure for me to be over here. I think we're living in very challenging times. I think that some of the introduction has already been mentioned. We've got heat waves, we've got more intense frequent cyclones, unusual patterns of rains and floods, droughts. I think all these things are there, and climate change is crucial to this. I think you all have been switching on your television over the last days, and you saw a lot of attention also for the UN on climate change. And this is indeed not only a challenge for India, it's a challenge for the world. And indeed, sometimes some of the challenges start in another country, and other countries are even suffering more. Myself, I worked in the Western Pacific region, and there we had the Pacific Island countries. Their threat is now their existence is now really threatened. And that is something what we need to keep in mind. I've been asked to look a little bit more also the human health aspect. Now, obviously, these disasters which I just was mentioning, these have definitely a lot of human consequences. But I would like to go one step earlier. One of the causes of climate change is air pollution. And I would like, if you don't mind, to focus a little bit and zoom in a little bit on this part. Look at air pollution. I think sometimes we need also to see from what is air pollution. And I've been here now for 4 years in the country. And I think what is very important, I would like upfront to say, although I go a little bit over the causes and we need to think about solutions. But when you need to think about solutions, you need also to think about what is air pollution and what is actually the major contributing factor to air pollution. I'm not sure if this audience knows that the major single contributing factor is the residential biomass burning around the house. Actually with the households. The second and the third one has to do with the industry and also with the energy production, which is relying on coal. The fourth one is the construction, the dust of the construction. The fifth one is transport, and then we have our seasonal crop burning. Now, why am I mentioning this? It starts with the households. You can do something about the households. That is right with us. That is right with the people. And therefore, I would like to recognize also what the Prime Minister has done with the LPG schemes for 18 million women to get the LPG schemes instead of wood and have a clean burning over there. I think is enormous important. But I also would like to empower all the people. Because if it is around your house, we can do something. We need to reach out. Now, being here for 4 years in India, I think we have challenges also in our buildings. Those ones who have houses, they're not well isolated. And people always thought from, okay, this is a very warm country, we don't need to isolate. No, even when you have a warm country, when you have those aircon on, then when you have well isolated, you might not need to aircon on to be switched on for such a long time. In the winter, in my own house, I have to start plastering the things because it's leaking out all the warmth that I'm trying to produce. This again is something what can be done, that is very close by, and it is something that people can be doing. Now myself, I also would like to look a little bit on something else. You might know I am a Dutch citizen. And if you ever gone to the Netherlands, you see cycling paths. And I can tell you, as a cyclist, if you drive a car and you touch a cyclist, you are in trouble. The cyclists they are in charge of the roads. I think we need to look at transport system also, making more cycling paths, making it possible, making it also safe. Let's have cycling lanes so that people, instead of going for the bus or having in their own cars, that they do cycling. Now that's not only good that the air is not being polluted, it's good for the body. It's good to deal with some of the challenges in health. Diabetes is a major challenge in India because the obesity is coming up. So these are some of the things which I would like to mention. These are things what can be done by people, and it is not even costing a lot of money. This is actually even good for health and has a lot of other benefits. Improving public transport is of course also very important. Myself, I would like to apologize. I came 15 minutes more late. I normally work in near number 1. I do this route every day. This time, again, the transport wasn't good. It was a traffic jam on a path which normally is not there. But my point is, I think public transport is very important, and I wish I could go on my bike to my work. And I hope that one day that most of you will go on your bike to your work. Delhi is nicely and flat, and it is easy to do. So these are some of the things which I would like to put also for you. Because as a doctor, I believe in prevention is the best. And that's also where we need to start. So the air pollution is contributing to climate change. Let's do something now about air pollution. And these are things what can be good, but it's also good for health immediately. And will also prevent some of the disasters coming. I also would like to reflect on myself. I have been involved in disasters response. I would like to recognize, I've been involved here in also, as an organization, as a UN, we have been involved in the Kerala floods and also recently in the cyclone in Orissa. Now they are good samples. I was very impressed. If I look how Kerala and the government has been responding to the floods in Kerala, I think that was excellent. It was a very tough time, but they did well. If you look at Orissa, the preparedness over there, it was amazing. I think you know most likely better, there was a similar cyclone, I think 20 years before, and it had thousands of deaths. Unfortunately, there were still some deaths. I think it was around the 50s, if I'm not mistaken. But it was so much less because Orissa was prepared. And I think that's the other part. Prevention is the best, but also being prepared. We need to be prepared. And I think we have very good examples within India, which were very clear that these things have already worked. I think at this very moment we do not need to look at, we need to at least build on the global attention for it and the regional attention for climate change. But it needs to be done in the country, it needs to be done in states, it needs to be done in districts. And I think that is something which is very important. And therefore we're also very happy to be over there, to be over here. But I also would like to reflect on my time. I was working in another country, in a very big country, was China. And I can tell you, if you want to have attention for challenges like climate change or air pollution, the human factor is the determining factor. This was one of the major factors that kept also politicians saying, look, we can't wait. And I think this is something what I'm so proud of also Prime Minister Modi, what he also was declaring, in New York. Because there are some challenges for a country like India. Economic growth is very important for the country, and India, fortunately, is growing in a large way, 5 to 7%. And for every percent of GDP growth, you need more energy. And if you're coal dependent, that's a challenge for air pollution, it's a challenge for climate change. And the Prime Minister himself declared in New York that we're going to look for a far much higher percentage for alternative resources. So I think with this having said so, I think I'm very proud here to be over here with you. And but I do believe, I think it is very important that whatever we do, we're looking at issues on prevention, we look at issues on preparedness, and solutions is our major team to be joining over here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for bringing out linkages of human health aspects with climate change, in particular air pollution, which has been recognized as disaster. Think global and act local. A small step taken at household level can make a great difference. May I now request Chairperson of this session, Professor V.K. Sarma, Vice Chairman, Sikkim State Disaster Management Authority, for his speech. Sir, please.
Thank you. Honorable Professor T.P. Singh ji, Chairman, University Grant Commission, and one of the pioneer, I should say, in disaster management and in environment. And as rightly introduced, he started his journey from DMI, and then he was Vice Chancellor in few universities, and everywhere he strengthened, these two areas. So I'm so glad that you are here as chief guest. Dr. Akhilesh Gupta ji is a very knowledgeable person in climate change, working since so many decades and having experience of environment as well as in disaster, because he is associated, with this area since long time. General Bindal, who is heading the National Institute of Disaster Management, Dr. Anil Gupta, my colleague, friend, Mr. Muhammad Khawad, who has recently joined, GIZ, but GIZ is working in India since long time, and we have partnership. They have partnership with many institutions, and Dr. Hendrik from WHO, very galaxy of eminent people who are sitting in the audience. Shri P.P. Srivastav, Dr. Verma, Sudhir Jainji, my colleagues from NIDM, Professor Santosh Kumar, Professor S.P. Singh. I cannot name all of you, but I think these are the people who are really matters in this country. Officers from NDMA, and NIDM, ladies and gentlemen. I also join my colleagues, my colleagues sitting on the dais, in complimenting NIDM and the organizers, who has organized this international event. And this is the right timing, I should say, because United Nations is having the climate summit in New York, and India is emerging, as a global leader, in climate change, and because we are really doing a lot in energy sector, in water sector, and the most important thing is that there is a political commitment. So I think this is a very good timing, for this kind of workshop where we are expecting convergence, because we are doing a lot, In climate change, I think every state is having a state action plan. Every state is having disaster management plan. Every district is having a disaster management plan. We are doing a lot, but I think there is a need of convergence. And this convergence is required, and that's why I think this kind of event, when this kind of academic people, practitioners, working, in different areas, different sectors, they are sitting here and will be talking for 2 days. I'm sure that these recommendations will be of great use to not only for government, but I think for academic people also, and the presence of Professor D.P. Singh, certainly, it will boost, give another, I should say, push to the disaster education and climate change education, which is really required in a larger way. Friends, I am working in a very small state, Sikkim. And when we are talking about disaster resilience, when we are talking about green growth, when we are talking about, I think the only example you can give today is Sikkim. You have, this is the first state where we have organic farming. We have 57% forest cover. We have banned plastic and polythene 20 years back. And there are many things, where we are first in the country. My colleague, Ravneesh ji, he was here with us last week in Sikkim. And NDMA, the honorable member of the NDMA was saying that this is one of the model state, in the country, which is doing both the things together, We are thinking of climate change, because very rightly said by Akhilesh ji that Himalayan states will be affected more, and it's a fact. We have 300 glacial lakes. Each and every glacial lake is increasing in size, and but at the same time, this is the only state which is doing something, for mitigation, for adaptation. And this is the only state where the glacial lake, the water was released before it get burst. Lonach Lake, with the help of Swedish Development Agency and UNDP, with the science and technology, thanks to DST, they helped us. And I think the experiment which is done by Sikkim is an example not only for Himalayan states but for all the countries who may face this kind of problem. Today we have sensors, in the Lonach Lake, and whenever there is some increase in water, we can release that. There is no threat to any hydropower plant or any city or village even. This is the first state which has revived 4,000 springs which were totally dried. And now we are giving training to Nagaland and other states, that how to revive these springs, because issue is known, Dr. Akhilesh Gupta very rightly said that hydrometeorological disasters, they will increase. There will be unprecedented events, extreme weather events, and this is happening. Today you have 7-8 states, which are under flood. There are 7-8 states which are under drought. So I think what he is saying is correct. And Himalayan state will be affected more. We have 370 centimeter rainfall, but the problem is that the duration has decreased. And the same rainfall has not changed, but the number of days has reduced. And that's why we are having more landslide, though there is 57% forest cover, but landslide are increasing. We are having problem of forest fire. Earlier the forest fire was very, maybe once in 2 years or 3 years. Now very frequently we are having forest fires, and this is because of the climate change, and we don't have expertise of that. So I think new disasters are coming, and we will have to, understand this thing. And I think this kind of conference, this kind of meetings where the academic people or practitioners, technology, I think science and technology can play a very important role. You have seen meteorology, how wonder, I think the whole nation is appreciating the effort of IMD, what they have done, particularly in cyclone warning system, in flood, Central Water Commission and all these organizations. I think our forecasting, warning system, it has increased a lot, and this is because of the science and technology. I am grateful to P.P. Srivastava ji. He introduced us to Amrita University. They have set up a center in Sikkim for early warning of landslides. And now we are requesting them to have more centers and more stations where we can have forecasting, predictions, and we can give early warning, because landslide is our major problem. My last point here is that why I am so glad today that Professor D.P. Singh, who really understands the gravity, of both the things, the climate change, its impact on not only Himalayan state, coastal region, central India, everywhere, and education can play a very important role. I took, a delegation from India long back to United States. I have shown 17 universities to his joint secretary, and he was amazed that I think each and every university is giving some contribution in some or the other way in disaster risk reduction. So sir, I took a delegation from Ministry of Agriculture for drought, and I have shown Nebraska University and all that, which are having the complete, drought mitigation center, warning center. They are disseminating knowledge, to the farmers. They are organizing farmers conference every year. So I think this is one important resource which we are missing. University is a great resource, I tell you. Indraprastha University is having a center. It's the first university which has started MBA program, in the country. So I think universities can play a very, very important role. And sir, you can promote this. And I think this association of NIDM and University Grant Commission, I think this will give dividends. I am sure of it. I wish that the deliberations which will happen in 2 days will be of great use for each one of you. Thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your insight on this topic. You rightly pointed that India is emerging as a global leader in the field of climate change and disaster management, but still there is a long way to go. Thank you for bringing the work of Sikkim in this forum in the field of green growth and low carbon development. You also highlighted the importance of science and technology in the field of disaster management and role of universities that can play in mitigating the risk and climate change adaptation. May I now request our chief guest of this symposium, Professor D.P. Singh, Chairman, University Grant Commission, for his insight on this topic. Sir.
Respected dignitaries on the dais, eminent scholar and very well-known name in the field of disaster management, environment, green growth, etc. Professor V.K. Sharma ji, Major General Manoj Kumar Vindal ji, the Executive Director of this very important institution, NITM, my old friend Dr. Akhilesh Gupta ji, Dr. Mohammad Khawat from GIZ, WHO representative to India, Dr. Hendrik, and again my very old and dear friend Dr. Anil Kumar Gupta ji, all the distinguished scientists, practitioners, administrators who are here. I can see Professor Sudhir Jain ji, the Honorable Director of IIT Gandhinagar, Dr. P.P. Srivastav ji, our Vice Chancellor Dr. Mahesh Verma ji of IT University, former Vice Chancellors Professor S.P. Singh ji, Professor A.K. Singh ji, all the chairpersons, learned experts. I am very happy to see here my old friend Dr. Indrani Chandrasekharan, who was director in Ministry of Environment and Forest when I was working with the Disaster Management Institute at Bhopal in early 90s. Friends, I also take this opportunity to welcome you all from the side of the University Grants Commission. And at the outset, my sincere thanks to the Executive Director, Major General Vindal ji and Dr. Anil Kumar Gupta ji for inviting me on this occasion, because I am refreshing my memories through this event of my old days and my association with disaster management, environment and sustainable development, which with the grace of God I am focusing right now as the chairman of the University Grants Commission. I am extremely happy to learn that the NIDM, which as you all know is an apex body on all aspects of education, research and disaster-related areas, have joined hands with so many agencies, with the Department of Science and Technology and Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Health, WHO, GIZ, Germany, and all other agencies for supporting this novel initiative of NIDM. I feel that these endeavors of NIDM are also linked with the activities of University Grants Commission in the area of promoting environment and disaster-related education and research. As has been said by Dr. Akhilesh Gupta ji, that more is required in the field of education and research, and that has been reiterated by Professor V.K. Sharma ji, and I also agree with this. And that is the need of the hour. Friends, Particularly, I look at the youngsters who are here, and focusing on them, I would like to speak some of my mind on this aspect today. The issues of environment-development relations have been at the forefront of policy debates over the last 4 or 5 decades. However, with recognition of ecosystem services for safety and sustainability of mankind and the issues of climate change over the past 1 decade has converted the debate to solution-oriented discourses. This is good development globally and also in India as well. In fact, environment, development, and disaster-related thought process cannot be separated. These are interdisciplinary, these are interrelated, and complementary to each other in multiple ways. While we are witnessing the new global policy protocols to better management our environments for protecting the people from the miseries of natural disasters, we also call our treasure of ancient and traditional knowledge on this aspect. My dear friends, my dear young minds who are here, I wish to reiterate that the Indian tradition has been of valuing our ecosystems, our rivers, our mountains, our coast, our flora and fauna, by way of even like worshipping or rituals. There are a number of such examples. There is a treasure of knowledge, of ancient wisdom, traditions, and practices, and they have been there in multiple forms and expressions. Atharvaved says, Mata Bhumi Putrot Prathiva, I am her son, therefore do not harm the environment, do not harm the water and the flora. Earth is my mother. I am her son. May the waters remain fresh. Do not harm the waters. Tranquility be to the atmosphere, to the waters, to the crops and vegetation. हमारा शांति मंत्र हम लोग जानते हैं, जिसमें कि हम इस तरह की प्रार्थना करते हैं. अपने वंदे मातरम राष्ट्रगीत में हम स्वस्थ श्यामला धरती की कामना करते हैं, उसकी प्रार्थना करते हैं. So that has been our tradition, that has been our ancient way of living, which I feel even today is very relevant. And therefore I am in favor of blending whatever is there in our the ancient wisdom, tradition knowledge, indigenous knowledge should be blended with the modern technology, modern knowledge of the modern times. In the modern times, the challenges of environment are often so sudden, we all know, complex and devastating, that they take the shape of disasters. Hence, blend of traditional local knowledge with modern technologies perhaps the need of the hour. Science and technology applications and innovations in the area of space technology, environment and biotechnology, medical sciences, engineering, telecommunication and computer systems, all such disciplines are now working to understand and address the issues of environment and disaster-related issues. What is now needed is effective blending of various technological approaches among themselves with the social dimensions of life. This is important for effective ground actions using these technological and social innovations. I am glad to witness the cooperation of Indian researchers with international and UN organizations. The Nobel Forum organized jointly by the NIDM, Global Green Growth Institute, South Korea, GIZ Germany, WHO and Springer Nature Publishing appears to be an excellent example of such cooperation. I also witness here the heads of several international and national organizations, universities, institutions, research organizations, central and state government departments, which would help enable effective network for taking up the activities in general on disaster and climate change resilience, and in particular the CAP RES 22 program of NIDM's Center for Climate Resilience. The CAP RES 22 title makes me to recall of Agenda 21, the historic global policy decision of the Rio Summit in 1992, awakening us to foster our development programs in a manner to be in sync with the environmental supports and limitations. This is the fact that when we fail to understand the limitations posed by environment, we enter into the risk zone. It is not necessary to be afraid of such risks, but we need to adjust our plans and actions according to the risk that we call living with risk, and that is needed. Friends, I want to share some of the initiatives which I had an opportunity to start in various universities and also at the UGC. And I wish to share with you that as the Vice Chancellor of the Banaras Hindu University, I could foster integration of disaster management and environment management together across several professional and science domains, including into management studies, biological sciences, geophysics, etc. A dedicated Institute of Environment and Sustainable Development was also established in BHU, where now a climate research cell is supported by the DST, Government of India, under which the CAP RES program at NIDM is also taken up. I'm also happy to share that the convener of CAP RES program, Dr. Anil Gupta ji, is very well known to me for last 3 decades, and I always appreciate him for his commendable contributions and his commitment. During my time as Vice Chancellor of Devi Ahilya University in Indore, I tried to bring out a green university policy, a green calendar, and also such other initiatives, and which I feel that every university is required. I am very happy to see here that Professor R.P. Singh from the Central University of Lucknow is also here, who is also taking such steps in his university. Friends, as you are aware, the Government of India has taken the matter of environmental education very seriously and with significant importance. Subsequent to the Honorable Supreme Court's directive, the Commission wrote to the universities long back in early 2000 and onwards on the subject and made environmental studies as compulsory in undergraduate level across all general and professional disciplines in all the universities and colleges. The curriculum includes modules on disasters and their management. The UGC in 2012 had communicated to all higher education institutions to initiate efforts to integrate and institutionalize disaster management education in the university system by introducing an optional paper on disaster management at UG level and also introducing disaster management as one of the topic in orientation and refresher courses offered by the UGC Academic Staff College, which is now renamed as the Human Resource Development Centers. And this is still going on. I'm also happy to share that several universities in the country have incorporated disaster management either as dedicated center or as courses in their School of Environmental Studies. Some of the institutions like JNU, Mahatma Gandhi University in Kerala, Tata Institute of Social Sciences, Mumbai Pondicherry University, then Guru Gobind Singh Indraprastha University, Tejpur University have established dedicated centers on disaster management research. I compliment all these universities and I wish to see more such centers in other universities. I am also happy to share with you that Ministry of Human Resource Development and UGC, as are envisaged under the Prime Minister's 10-point agenda on disaster risk reduction for that matter, supported NIDM in developing model curriculum across 3 interdisciplinary areas such as environmental studies, social work, developmental studies, and 5 professional streams such as health, engineering, law, planning and architecture, and management studies. I do hope that model syllabus and model textbooks on disaster management under these disciplines would be available shortly as reference materials. You may be happy to know that UGC is supporting several vocational courses on disaster management, environmental protection, and water conservation in universities and colleges. A number of research projects across science and social science domain funded by the UGC also directly relate to such areas. UGC is also offering online MOOCs on disaster management at UG and PG level through SWAYAM portal. And recently we have taken initiative in UGC and we are bringing out guidelines on eco-friendly and sustainable campus. And that committee, I am happy that the chairman of the committee, our respected Professor S.P. Singh, the former Vice Chancellor of HNB Garhwal University, is also here. And these guidelines will be shared with all the universities, and we expect that the universities conduct themselves more responsibly for developing their campuses in an eco-friendly manner and in a sustainable manner. It is a matter of additional happiness to learn that this platform is supported by academic publishers like Springer Nature, and I would like to see the outcome of global book series on disaster resilience to be available shortly for the teachers and the students to help their studies and research on this subject. NIDM, as Apex Institute of Disaster Education Research, and National Disaster Management Authority as apex organization of the country on policy and emergency response matters, coming together to join hands with a number of like-minded people, like-minded agencies, is a sign of positive movement to fill the knowledge gap and also to link it with the ground level applications. The publications released today on this occasion are important reference documents to support policy and actions by related agencies and also for the research institutes. I congratulate the authors and publishers who brought up such useful knowledge base to this forum. A blend of the carbon neutral, eco-friendly, healthy, economically viable, and socially acceptable models of development is the need of the hour. This 2 days international symposium, being attended by a large number of luminaries, officials, eminent scholars, and researchers, I feel is a noble forum to discuss challenges and opportunities across the important themes like green growth, resilient agriculture, health, emergency response, regulatory framework, and decision tools as subset of disaster resilience management. I am sure the outcome of this symposium would go a long way in driving a global paradigm towards sustainability issues in our disaster management system. I wish this symposium a great success. Thank you and Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir, for addressing this august gathering. Thank you for highlighting the importance of traditional wisdom in today's time and role it plays in the field of disaster management and sustainable development. I am also a big propagator of traditional wisdom that it plays in this time. Thank you for highlighting the initiatives of UGC in the field of disaster, environment and sustainability, and we also appreciate your personal initiative in the field of green growth and low carbon development. Environment, development and disasters are interrelated and complementary to each other. Intervention in one sector will definitely have cascading impact on other sectors as well. With this, we are nearing to the end of the inaugural session. May I now request Dr. Anil Kumar Gupta for formal vote of thanks. Sir, please.
Thank you, Swati. So, delivering a vote of thanks for such an august gathering is not an easy task for me, but given the duty, I have to perform. Dignitaries on the dais and off the dais. When I see at this August forum, with the delegates, a number more than 200, I think it has already crossed 200, including the organizing team, here we have almost 230 delegates participating in this International Symposium. We feel really blessed by the presence of the dignitaries. Our chief guest of the inaugural session, Professor D.P. Singh, he has always been a source of inspiration for all of us, not only as an external guide, but always as a kind of a mentor of the family of the fraternity of disaster management and environment. I had the privilege of working with him in the past, and during his other tenures also, I had the opportunity of interacting with him, collaborating with him in the organizational capacity or in the personal capacities also. And in fact, most of the dignitaries present here, I find that I had the opportunity of working together in some or other ways, and I would be looking forth that how from NIDM and from the team of environment and disaster management, we take this agenda forward for working together with the support and guidance from all the experts present here. I take the opportunity to extend the sincere thanks to Professor D.P. Singh sir, chief guest. I also take the opportunity to express sincere gratitude to Professor V.K. Sharma sir, who chaired this inaugural session. He has always been very supportive. While our campus was in IIPA campus, we were frequently able to take his guidance and support, and he has been in fact the pioneer in establishing the National Institute of Disaster Management also. He was the first coordinator. So it is always great to have his support and blessings. We are thankful to you, sir. We are thankful to our key collaborators, World Health Organization and GIZ Germany, with whom we are actively partnering in working in the area of green growth and disaster management, also supported by the Department of Science and Technology, Ministry of Agriculture and Ministry of Health. We are thankful to Shri Muhammad Al-Khawar, Program Director NRM, who has made possible to join this inaugural session. We are also thankful to Dr. Henrik for joining this inaugural session. Both of them, through their addresses, have provided very, very important insights as green growth and health. Those also go hand in hand. And the insights from them are very important for us in understanding and developing the roadmap in this line. We are thankful to the Department of Science and Technology and Science and Technology Ministry representative, Dr. Akhilesh Gupta sir, who is advisor and head Splice and Climate Change Program of DST, who is also heading 2 national missions on climate change. He has been very supportive for all the time. Since I joined NIDM, I have been interacting with him. I have been taking academic guidance from him, guidance as a senior, guidance also as a kind of a family member of the environment and disaster management fraternity. So we are very thankful to DST. We are thankful to DST for supporting NIDM for this project, which is called CAPRIS, Climate Adaptive Planning for Resilience and Sustainability, by way of which NIDM joins a network of the Center of Excellence supported by DST. So we will also be working with all the Center of Excellence which are under the program. We are thankful to our Executive Director who has joined recently, just 3 months before, he has taken over as the new executive director of the institute. And within this short period, NIDM has seen the kind of a tremendous change in the vision and impact. We are feeling highly motivated under his regime, and he has extended all kind of support and guidance for the successful conduct of this international symposium. We are very, very thankful to you, sir, for all your support and guidance. And it is not important only to extend thanks to the dignitaries on the dais. Dignitaries of the dais also equally important for us. We are really feeling blessed that we have the directors and vice chancellors of the prestigious institutions of the country, where people, in fact, for entering into those institutions, people strive hard. We have Director of Indian Institute of Technology, Gandhinagar, Sudhir Jain sir. We are really thankful to you, sir, for joining this occasion. Despite of his busy schedule, he has just joined his third tenure recently. He went back to Kanpur, he started teaching, and then again he was called to have the third tenure of IIT. We are thankful. We are thankful to Priti Srivastava Sahab. He has kindly agreed to join this session. He will also be joining the valedictory session. Professor Mahesh Verma sir, he was out of the country. We could chase him and we could catch him through emails or WhatsApp. He has also recently he has joined the university as Vice Chancellor, and since the university has a Center for Disaster Management, with which we also have an MOU, so we'll be working together, and we'll see that how we take this agenda forward. We have the Director of Tropical Forestry Research Institute, Jabalpur, which is a ICFRE, Indian Council of Forestry Research Institute, Dr. Rao. He has been kindly agreed and he has joined this endeavor. We are thankful to you, Dr. Rao. We are thankful to Dr. A.K. Singh Sahab, who has been Vice Chancellor, former Vice Chancellor of Vasundhara Raje Agriculture University, and currently he is Secretary of National Academy of Agriculture Sciences. He has always been supportive to us. We recall his gracious presence during our previous international conference with GIZ in 2011 also, when he chaired a session and he has supported us. We are thankful to the Professor S.P. Singh Sahab, former Vice Chancellor of Kumayu University. He is a well-known figure, an internationally renowned person in the field of ecology, and working in the area of landslides and ecosystems. He will be delivering a special talk during the session. We are thankful to Professor Santosh Kumar, who is the senior most professor of NIDM. He also held the responsibility of SART Disaster Management Center. Various other prestigious contributions are to his credit. We are thankful to Dr. Indrani Chandrasekharan. In fact, I started learning about disaster management from her. I used to visit Ministry of Environment frequently. I used to sit in her room for a long time. We used to see the documents of ministry, which were in fact those times restricted, but she used to share with us for our learning. We are thankful to NDMA, Shri Ravnesh Kumarji, our finance officer, finance advisors here. Thank you, sir. We are thankful to all. We have here the chairperson of the Center for Disaster Management in JNU, Professor P.K. Joshi, who is in fact, besides being chairperson, is our old friend. So we have been already working together. We look for our future cooperation. We are thankful to Professor R.P. Singh, Professor P.C. Tiwari Saab. There are so many people, Sri Raghu Babu from GIZ. We have so many experts here with whom we will be having deliberations. Professor Shiraj Waji, Chairman of the Gorakhpur Environmental Action Group. We have been partnering for almost more than a decade, and we had a long journey, and today we release a training module also jointly authored with the GR. So there are so many experts who are participating in this forum. I extend sincere thanks to all of them. We are thankful to all the organizations. We have the participants from ICI mode also. We have the participants from various other international organizations also. Not only from this country, but travel from other countries also for participating in this program. Others will be joining in their respective sessions. So we are thankful to all of them. We are thankful to all the partners. We are thankful to the administration of NIDM, Mr. Vikram Gurjar, Mr. Jha, and all the team. We are thankful to Springer Nature for supporting the endeavor of taking the publication series. All the team of CAPRES, team of National Agriculture Disaster Management Plan, NADMP, team of the WHO project with us, and there's this staff and officials of the Constitution Club of India who have supported this endeavor. It is not really very easy to name or to recall all the contributions from all the persons, but I would like to extend sincere thanks from the core of my heart to all the people who have directly or indirectly contributed to the success of this program. And at the end, we are again thankful to the dignitaries on the dais, DP Singh sir, and the chairperson of the program, Professor V.K. Sharma sir, and Dr. Akhilesh Gupta sir, Dr. Mohammed, and Dr. Henrik and ED sir for making this event a success. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Now it's time for memento distribution to our dignitaries on the dais. May I request Major General Manoj Kumar Bindal, Executive Director, NIDM, to present a memento to our Chief Guest, Professor D.P. Singh. May I also request Sir to present memento to our Chairperson, Professor V.K. Sharma, sir. May I request Dr. Anil Gupta to present memento to Sri Mohammad Al Khawat, Program Director, NRM CISF, to Dr. Henrik Jan Beckerdam, WHO Representative, and Dr. Akhilesh Gupta, Advisory and Head, DST, Government of India. May I also request Dr. Gupta to present a memento to Executive Director, NIDM. Thank you, everyone. This brings us to the end of this inaugural session.